All right, everybody, it's your boy Fernie here back with another new Mafia and Gangsters video. This time we're continuing the wonderful book Super Mafia Organized Crime Threatens America by Jonathan Harris. Last time we were into chapter 7, which was called Busting the Unions, and I did a part 1. This one will be part 2. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's share the rest of this chapter here, then I'll give my own thoughts and opinions on it as well. Let me know what you guys and gals think, as always. So let me go ahead and I'll share this screen here. All right, and then make it more viewable there. That should be good. So here is part 2. I made it a little bit bigger as well, so that way it's more readable. It says the pattern of corruption remained unchanged, whether under Hoffa or his successors. Millions of dollars in Teamster pension funds have been poured into highly suspicious loans and investments. A particular favorite has been the Las Vegas casinos. Several of these were built and then lavishly expanded with Teamster funds. The casino mobsters simply pocketed large parts of these loans and then defaulted on them. One Las Vegas group, headed by the notorious Mo Dalitz, is said to have received loans totaling 97 million. The losers have been the union's dues-paying members. The misuse of their union's funds has reached such proportions that many may eventually be unable to collect their full pensions. The biggest recent scandal affecting the Teamsters leadership was the conviction in December 1982 of another of its presidents, Roy L. Williams. He was charged with attempting to bribe a U.S. senator and defraud the union's pension fund. Convicted along with him was Alan Dorfman, who we have seen ran the insurance company that had a lock on the union's business. The prosecution presented considerable evidence showing that both men were linked to the mob. They faced long prison terms, but on January 21st, 1983, Dorfman was shot to death in a Chicago parking lot. The police believe the mob put out a contract on him because it feared he might make some sort of deal with the authorities in order to lighten his punishment. Dorfman knew too much about the mob's innermost workings to be allowed to talk. Williams drew a 55-year sentence. The man who succeeded him was Jackie Presser, millionaire leader of the Cleveland Teamsters. Presser already held several union jobs, which paid him a total salary of about $350,000 a year. He insisted that he would hold on to almost all of them, despite his new additional wage of $225,000 as Teamster president. Presser has been investigated by federal authorities on a variety of charges, but has so far been cleared. A Justice Department report asserted, however, that his organized crime affiliations and involvement are well documented. Next one is ILA over the waterfront. The 100,000 member International Longshoremen Association has what Newsweek magazine has called a stop or go grip on billions of dollars in cargo flowing through East Coast and Gulf Coast ports. Longshoremen load and unload the ships and are responsible for warehousing and moving the cargoes along the nation's waterfronts. The ILA's intimate ties to the Mafia have been documented in numerous trials and Senate hearings over the past quarter of a century. According to Senator Sam Nunn of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, federal probes in the early 1980s showed a pattern of organized crime influence over the shipping industry as insidious as when first disclosed in 1953. Shipping company executives had to accustom themselves to making payoffs to ILA leaders in order to guarantee labor peace. Individual payoffs have ranged as high as $50,000. The employers were so resigned to them that they passed them off as a normal cost of doing business and added them to their shipping rates. Prodded by increasingly desperate pleas from the shippers, rank and file longshoremen, and the media, the FBI launched a massive investigative campaign in 1975. Its code name was UNIRAC, Union Racketeering. By the end of 1980, UNIRAC had exposed large parts of the corrupt system. A Justice Department report stated that it had uncovered the buying and selling of labor contracts and numerous instances of embezzlement of union funds by ILA officials. Threats, extortion, and intimidation were found prevalent. Some 130 defendants were indicted as a result. Nearly half pleaded guilty. Over 50 went to trial and were convicted. The official report summed up the revelations of these trials. It appears that for many years, corrupt ILA officials have been able to run the eastern and southern ports to their advantage. The extent and longevity of the corruption present in this case are possibly only when businessmen find it more economically advantageous to live with the corrupt system than the free market. Next one is titled The Enforcement Gap. There are plenty of good laws on the books designed to promote democracy in the unions and protect the workers from the racketeers. At least 95% of all unions observe these laws scrupulously. Even in unions with mob picketed officers at the top, many of the locals strive to serve their members faithfully. Constantly recurring efforts by the rank and file to overthrow the corrupt leadership and reform their unions are another example of the persistence of the members yearning for democracy. The trouble lies in the inadequate enforcement of the existing laws against the few corrupt unions. Senate hearings starting in 1957 began to reveal the extent of mob infiltration. Some impressive legislation resulted. First and foremost was the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act of 1959, known as the Landrum-Griffin Act. It set up a strict code of conduct for union officers, employers, and labor consultants. Workers were guaranteed the right to change their union's constitution and bylaws whenever they felt it necessary. Unions were required to file regular financial reports to the U.S. Department of Labor. If and when the membership demanded it, union officers could be replaced through elections monitored by the Labor Department. All union funds were to be spent solely and exclusively for the benefit of the union and its members. Having bared the widespread looting of the union pension funds, Congress also passed the Welfare and Pension Disclosure Act. It too required regular reports to the Labor Department. The law prohibited a whole list of techniques used by mobsters to pillage these funds, from bribes to kickbacks to embezzlement. Despite the spectacular convictions we have already noted, Labor Department enforcement of these laws has been spotty at best. One reason is that even legitimate unions oppose strict enforcement. They fear that anti-union forces might find ways to use the new laws against the honestly run union as well as those run by the mob. It looks like that's it. That's everything associated with this chapter, which is chapter 7 of Busting the Unions, part 2 from the book Organized Crime Threatens America, Super Mafia, Organized Crime Threatens America by Jonathan Harris. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. Great stuff. Lots of good information shared within this chapter. I was obviously talking about the world of unions as well. So let me know what you guys and gals think about that. Some good examples too of the corruption associated with the unions, and how there was also a set of funds that would be pillaged or embezzled, especially with regards to something involving the world of pensions. It was interesting to see at the end of the chapter that it was only making up still a small amount of the unions, how most of the unions were making sure that there truly was a democracy, that there wasn't anything bad happening to what was occurring. And if there was some form of corruption or something else happening within that union, then they would make sure that those items would get out. It's kind of scary though to read how whenever there was some situations of people getting involved with potential long sentences, they were going to get busted, go to jail, something like that. It looks like the mafia was able to do things their way when it came to making sure that people who they thought might want to turn into informants, that wasn't going to happen on there. But otherwise, just still interesting chapter when it comes to the world of unions. That reminded me a lot of the world of Casino, the film Casino, how it showcases at the end of the movie there that when there was going to be even a chance of anybody basically becoming any kind of informants or knowing too much information, how the mafia kind of stepped in and did things their way afterwards. But otherwise, lots of good information to share here. Let me know what you guys and gals think with regards to this book, to this chapter. I'd love to hear again any more information, any more comments you might have. Anything else, though, I'll be doing another chapter here. This will be chapter 8, which is going to be called, let me check again. Just had it up. One moment, please. Oh, it's going to be called Lawman versus Mafiosi. So it looks like it's going to finally showcase various law departments and what they're doing in order to directly take on the mafia. All right, everyone. Thanks again as always. Take care.